teachers leave the profession and you're wondering, how can I prevent that going into the teaching field and how can I find the right district from the get-go? Well, honestly, it all comes down to choosing the right district for you that's going to match your teaching style, your goals as a teacher, and is going to give you the level of support you are looking for from the beginning. Well, you might be wondering, how do I go about doing that? Well, today I'm going to be talking about how to choose the right district as a first year teacher. So, with that being said,
Hey teacher bestie, my name's Helena and I'm the creator of the Present Teacher Podcast. I'm a first year teacher coach, and in this podcast you are going to learn everything from simple, actionable classroom management, social emotional learning, and teacher wellness strategies. You know that impact you want to make in the classroom? Well, we're going to make it happen here.
before we dive in, I want to give you a little bit of a backstory and a little bit of a mindset shift I made when I was first applying for my first teaching position back in 2018. You see, a common misconception teachers have, especially first year teachers, is their first job is probably not going to be ideal and they really should just grasp at whatever teaching position they can get. Well, I decided that wasn't going to be me. I decided that I was going to find my dream district from the get-go, and I'm happy to say that I did. I not only looked at the salary or the location, but I also looked at how aligned I was to the district. So I was moving from Oregon to New Mexico back in 2018. And instead of applying to 30, 40 different districts, I actually narrowed it down to only 3 different districts that I was looking to work for, and I applied to those 3. Of those 3, 2 of them offered me an interview. Of those 2, both of them on the same day, actually, I had interviews for each with a demo lesson for each, and I got offered the teaching position at both positions or both districts on the same day. So, how did I do it? Well, to be honest, it wasn't because I massively applied to a bunch of districts. I was very intentional to who I was applying for, and I made sure I was only applying to districts that I felt were going to be really aligned to who I was becoming, and where I wanted to go as a teacher. And I made sure that I was passionate about wanting to work at that district. That way, those districts, and I could convey that in my interview. That way, those districts didn't feel like I was just some first year teacher looking for any position, that I was really passionate about working for that specific school. So, now that you have my personal story aside, oh, and since then, I've helped dozens and hundreds of teachers since then find their teaching position and their right teaching position. I think of this first year teacher who reached out to me back in 2020. She was looking for her first teaching position, and the school year had actually already started. It was the middle of September, and she had tried applying to a bunch of positions, but none of them were working out. We worked together one-on-one, and we got clear on what kind of district she wanted to work for. And that very next week or 2 weeks later, she had an interview with her dream teaching position and she got the job, and she's been happily working there since. So it's not only my personal story, it's what I've been able to help other teachers do, and it all comes down to clarity. So now that we've talked about my personal story and my coaching experience with first year teachers and finding their dream position, let's talk about how to know what you want. So first, in order to get clear on which districts you want to apply to, we need to get clear on what you want. What's your dream district? And again, this goes against everything that most society is going to tell you about, oh, just take any teaching position, be desperate. What I found is that with clarity, it's a lot easier for that dream district to find you and match with you, as opposed to just trying any district and taking any position. So here are some questions, and I want to ask you to give yourself permission to really dream here, really get clear and really go nuts with like a dream wish list, because the clearer you are, the easier it's going to be to find that match and that district for you. So let's talk about, what does your dream district look like? What does it look like? How does it feel to come in every day? And feel free to pause wherever you're tuning in from and take some time to journal and really start listing out some qualities that you want for your district as I ask you these questions. So, what does your dream district or school look like? How does it feel to walk in to that building every day? What kind of support do you have? Is there a program for first year teachers? Is there not really a program? Are you teamed up with somebody? Are you having the principal come observe you a couple times or admin come observe you? What kind of support do you have? What does it feel like? How does admin interact with you on a day-to-day and weekly basis? What are your interactions like? And then just as it's very clear to get on what you do want, what does it not look like and feel like to all those? What do you really want to avoid and just doesn't fit your dream? How big is this school? Is it a really big school? Is it a very small school? Is it urban, suburban, or rural? Do you have a big team of, 10 teachers per grade level, 5 teachers per grade level, or is it maybe a smaller team with you and one other person or maybe 2 other people? What are your class sizes? Do you have 50 plus students per class or is it smaller? What kind of support do you want for new teachers? Do you want formal or informal program for new teachers to the district? But essentially, I want you to come up with, and this can be really helpful, make 2 columns and make a side of a green flags. So come up with a wish list, everything you're looking for in a district, and come up with some red flags, everything you're wanting to avoid in a district to really help you get clear on what this dream district's going to be like. All right, so after you've gotten clear on what kind of district you want to work for, let's talk about how to research that school or different schools that are available or you can apply to really narrow down which ones you are applying to and make sure the ones you are applying to you're being intentional about them being a good fit. So back in the day, back in 2018, and I've actually used this when I switched districts later in 2021. I had actually, long story, but I'll make it short. I moved to a specific town to work at that first district. It was great. However, I decided to move about an hour and a half, a little farther away, but closer to my family because I knew in the future I wanted to have kids and start a family, and I really wanted to live closer to my extended family. And that commute was just really long. And I couldn't see myself doing that long term. I wanted to work at the district that my future kids would eventually go to. So later in 2021, I switched districts, not because that first one wasn't great, but because I was looking for something else as I expanded. And I use this exact strategy still. I actually only applied to that one district and I got the job during, again, that one district or that one interview. So when I was researching which districts or which schools to apply to, I use a website called niche.com. It's completely free. What I love about this, if you're looking at moving to a different town you're not familiar with or a different state, it actually gives you a breakdown on the demographics and the culture of that particular town or state. And then you can take it a step further and you can actually look up specific districts and even specific schools. It even gives you an overall rating for that school, which I absolutely love. So, researching the school culture. So, what I did is I used niche.com, and all of this, I actually take you through the entire process inside Land Your Dream Job, which is my program. I'll make sure to put a link in the description down below if you're wondering what's in that program. But I made columns of notes based off of your desires and characteristics that matters most to you. So, for example, if you want a small town and school, you might want to make a column in your spreadsheet that takes note of the class sizes. If you really want a small team or a big team, maybe you take note of how many teachers per grade level or subject. If you really want supportive admin, you can go to niche.com, scroll to the bottom, and you can actually find reviews from people in the community, students, and even past and present teachers and staff members to see what the culture is like. So that's the step I recommend taking next. First, you get clear on what kind of district you want to apply to, and then you get super clear on by researching the different schools. When I took this step, I probably had a list of about 25 schools that first time in 2018, and like I said, I narrowed it down to only 3. So it can be really helpful to after you do some research, get clear on the ones that you definitely want to interview and cut out the ones that just aren't aligned with you. So the next step after you've done the research, you've weeded out the ones that you don't necessarily want to work for just based off of the research. A reminder I want to give you is when you are interviewing them or when you are at an interview, you are interviewing the district and the interview committee just as much as they are interviewing you. Now, by that, I mean you want to make sure it's a mutual fit. Now, what I'm not saying is to ask them 10, 20 questions like they're going to interview you, but what I recommend is to make sure you ask 2 to 3 intentional questions at the end of the interview when they ask you, do you have any questions that are going to really align to your top priorities when it comes to seeing if this district is going to be in the green flags or the red flags. So that's how to go about interviewing them back is to be super intentional with those 2 to 3 questions at the end of your interview. So a great example of this is if you really care about getting support, ask them what programs they have for new teachers in the district. What kind of PD is offered in the first year? Here's some different scenarios or some different questions you might want to ask depending on what your priorities are. Again, look at that list you made, the green flags and the red flags, and you're picking 2 to 3 main ones that you really want to ask that really matter to you. That way, if you have 2 or 3 interviews, you can really get clear on which ones were more aligned to you and which ones weren't. So the first one is admin support. So what kind of support can I expect to receive from my admin? How involved is admin in discipline? Do they offer feedback or only during evaluations? If you really care about disruptive behavior, maybe you've seen a lot of extreme disruptive behavior in the past and you're curious how the district and the admin in particular are going to respond to said disruptive behavior, you can ask questions like, what is the protocol for students who are partaking in unsafe behavior? What kind of support can I expect from admin if this is a repetitive occurrence? Great questions to ask. If you really care for a low turnover rate, you're not looking for a district where maybe the admin isn't the best and they have a high turnover rate, or the culture is maybe not as inviting and a little bit toxic. You can ask questions like, how many teachers are leaving the district this year? How many veteran teachers are there in the district? How many teachers stay in the district longer than 5 years? Great questions to ask to see what the turnover rate is in that particular school or that district. And next, another thing you might really care about is planning time. Maybe you've seen it where teachers really have to prioritize their planning time because it is easily taken away, and you want to make sure that whatever district you work for really prioritizes and honors that and isn't taking away your planning time and is honoring that part of your job. So, some questions you could ask is how much prep time does the average teacher have on a weekly basis? How often are teachers asked to cover another class or cover a duty during their planning times? So, after that, you're going to pick 2 to 3 questions to ask the district at the end of your interview based off of your priorities. You can, when you ask them, I actually like to bring, I got it in choir in high school, but it's like a black, nice business folder with like a notepad in it. I actually took notes during their answers. That way, after the interview, I could reflect. And like I said, that day I had 2 interviews back to back. I could kind of compare the answer and say, okay, this district had more red flags than this district, or this district had a really good answer to this question where this one kind of made me question. So take notes of the district answers, even if you just have a notepad in the car after the interview to take note of the red and green flags. That way you can compare notes later and you can remember not only which one gave you a better vibe, but also which one is more aligned with you and was more aligned to your dream district. So after so when you do this, I know a common thought you might have, and this is from my experience of coaching new teachers when it comes to applying. Again, you don't need to apply to 20, 30 jobs. You can get clear on which districts you want to apply to and really show how dedicated and aligned you are. But you might be questioning, is this a bad thing to ask these questions? And you might be scared because you're not sure how the districts are going to respond to this. But when you do this, it shows how dedicated you are. It shows to the district how serious you are to not just take any particular job, but to specific districts that you are aligned to. You're not looking for any district that will hire you. You're looking for the right district that's going to be mutually beneficial for both of you. You're ensuring it's a mutually beneficial fit, and you show how dedicated you are to finding a district you want to work in long term, which are all great qualities. So, to wrap things up, when it comes to, you know, choosing the right district so you can avoid or prevent teacher burnout and get in the right district that's going to support you from the get-go, we went through a couple different steps. The first one is I gave you my personal story, not only my personal story, but my coaching story of helping other teachers. We talked about step two, know what you want. Get clear, create those columns on green flags and red flags. Ask yourself some questions to get super clear on what kind of district you're looking for, what kind of support you're looking for. Third thing, research with intention. I mentioned how you can use niche.com to really research different districts and to weed out the ones that just aren't going to be aligned to what you're looking for. Fourth thing is to interview them as much as they interview you. Disclaimer, I'm not saying come up with 10 or 20 questions. I'm saying pick 2 or 3 intentional questions to ask at the end of your interview. That's really going to help you figure out if this district is more aligned to you than maybe a different district. So that wraps up everything in regards to how to go about getting hired and applying to the right district. If you want to go a step further and you want more tips on the teacher interview process, I have a ton of more resources for you and next steps for you. So the first thing, if you're looking for some more free content, I highly recommend you check to tune in wherever you are tuning in from or to check out wherever you're tuning in from. I have a ton of free content. It has been my mission from the beginning to share as much free content as I can here online for my community because there weren't a lot of resources back in the day when I first started teaching. And so I really wanted to be that role model and share my tips and strategies with you as I can. If you are wanting help kind of sifting through all my free content, because I have a lot of them now, I went through and asked my community for the top 10 questions they have about the teacher interview process. I listed those out. I talked about each topic in depth once a week, and then I compiled a guide. So I highly recommend you check out the Ultimate Teacher Interview Guide. This compiles the top 10 questions I get asked or most commonly asked about the interview process, and I give answers in the guide to each question. Things like how to prepare for a demo lesson, how to answer an interview question, which questions to answer or to practice, stuff like that. But I also link to those blog posts, podcasts, and YouTube videos so you're not having to spend hours or time sifting through all my resources. It's all in one place. So if you want that, definitely recommend checking that out. That's totally free. And that's my gift to you as a great place to start your interview process or getting ready to start the interview process. If you want to take it a step further and you want my help coming up with your interview assets, things like your cover letter, your resume, what do you say in the first section, the next section? Do I have an example for you? What does an example demo lesson template look like a lesson plan template? Do I have one for you to use? What are you saying in a follow-up email? All that stuff. I actually created the Ultimate Teacher Interview Bundle where I compiled a bunch of different resources you're going to use during the interview process, and I created them for you. So you literally plug in your information and it's done for you, which I absolutely love. So definitely recommend checking that out if you want more of a DIY approach, but you still want me to help you save time and you want me to write some of your resources for you. Definitely check that out. These plug and play are going to save you a ton of time and they'll take the guesswork out of phrasing and everything. If you want more of this strategy, you want me to show you how to research the districts, all the way to how to follow up, how to reflect, how to make this process run smoother, what to say when you follow up, everything in between. I definitely recommend you check out Land Your Dream Job. Land Your Dream Job is my program where there's 2 different paths you can take. You can take the, hey, I want all your strategies, I want the whole process laid out from A to Z in order on what I'm going to need for the interview process so I don't have to think about it. You can walk me through it, but I don't need that much support in it. I have that option. Or if you're looking to hire me, because I've actually had most of my coaching clients or the teachers hiring me for coaching ask for interview help. My hourly rate is a little bit higher, so I wanted to package that into an option into this program. You can actually hire me for one-on-one coaching inside as one of the options of this program at a discounted price, as opposed to my hourly rate, which is going to save you money and time. So I definitely love that option too. But if you're looking for me to walk you through the process and share all my strategies and my whole framework from, again, applying and researching to getting the job offer, I walk you through the entire process. And what I love about it is this is not a fluffy course. It is a short, sweet, actionable, potent, step-by-step, action-based program. So you're not going to waste your time with any fluff. My goal is to literally, if you wanted to, you can do this entire program in a single weekend because I don't want you spending your entire summer looking for a job. My goal is to get you aligned with your dream job, get hired quickly in and out so you can spend your summer laying by the pool, graduating, spending time with friends and family, and researching how to set up your classroom and all the fun stuff, which is another step that I absolutely love. So, if that's something you're interested in, make sure to check out the description. I will put a link to Land Your Dream Job in the description down below. All right, that wraps up everything. What questions do you have about the interview process? Let me know by either sending me a DM or if there's a comment section wherever you're tuning in from, make sure to drop that in the comment section. I would love to chat all things interviewing. I've been kind of passionate about this since I first applied and then also since being on interview committees and having just people in my circle and in my community ask me for interview resources and tips and strategies and even hiring me for interviewing coaching. It's just something I love doing. I love matchmaking teachers with dream districts and making it work. It's just something I love. So, as always, remember we are stronger together, and I'll see you in the next one, Teacher Bestie. Bye.
Thank you so much for joining me on today's episode. I hope that you were able to take away some value that will help you thrive inside and out of the classroom. It would mean the world to me if you could take 5 seconds right now and leave a review on this podcast. And if you found this podcast especially helpful, make sure to take a screenshot of this episode right now and tag me on your socials to let me know you're listening. As always, remember that we are stronger together with all the love in the world. Helena, aka the President Teacher. See you next time, Teacher Bestie.